Much anticipated matchup between the Oakland Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Super Bowl 37.
Run there! The world champs, baby! Give me this! Give me this!
They come to catch another shit. Cannons like the loaded, so it's time to flip the script. Cruising through the bay on that Buccaneer battleship, sold up, screaming out, so Buck what you heard. So Buck what you heard. So Buck what you heard. So Buck what you heard.
All right, welcome back to Buck What You Heard. The evolute. Wait a minute. No. You know what? Don't adjust your dial. I have a special guest on with me tonight. My old co-host, my original co-host, Peter Blake from the Sports Web. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing? It is Wednesday. What's the date? What is it? Wednesday night here, Buck What You Heard. And still, at the end of the day, at the end of the night, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are world champions.
It never gets old saying that. Never gets old saying that.
I love it.
Hey, I wanted to start the show out. I want to shout out to Smack Apparel. Smack Apparel has been working closely with Buck What You Heard this season, and moving forward, they'll be working with us as well. Robbie, shout out to you. We had a contest. In the more people that followed Smack Apparel and myself, we would pick two winners. And those winners would get the newest shirt, one of the newest shirts out there, the Antoine Winfield Jr. Peace out to the Cheetah. And we've got that shirt. So we've got one for both of them. And, again, congratulations, guys. J_K_2, Jordan, and Cool Cat 7711 Evan. Congratulations, guys, on just being part of the contest and being great sports. You guys are greatly appreciated. I was going to have them call in, but they're both working tonight.
Oh.
Shame on them.
Well,
but it is what it is. Yeah, you got to make a living, with the pandemic and everything. You got to do what you got to do, So really excited about that. And we will be getting those shirts out to you. And you know what, guys, if I missed anybody, I think I missed one person. I missed anybody. I haven't gotten your shirt out to you and you've won here. Hit me up on Twitter, DM me. I'll get this done. Who knows? But I promise you, you won't be without a shirt. I will get this all sorted out for you because I appreciate you joining us and, checking this out. And with that being done, that part, that's kind of the fun part. We lost a genuinely great player, a great human being this week in Vincent Jackson. And I think it's great to have you on here, Peter, because I believe this is kind of where me and you met, was at the time when Vincent Jackson was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was a very integral part of this team. I mean, Josh Freeman and Vincent Jackson, that was the connection. And to me, he was one of the bright spots for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know about you, but I know for me he was, and I'll get into that a little bit later on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely a big-time loss for the Buccaneer community, a big-time loss for human beings in general, because not only was he a great football player, but he was a great man with all the charity that he did off the field, especially for military veterans. It's disappointing to see what happened. I think a lot of people were shocked, only 38 years old. You're exactly right. We kind of talked about this off air. How we kind of met was, you saw one of my broadcasts, and I was talking about what the Bucs were going to do in free agency, and we were very excited about it because he had a new coach and Greg Schiano coming in, and Mark Dominic spending all this money, and how getting a Jackson was definitely going to help that offense out because it gave Josh Freeman a weapon. And you could definitely see that he was one of the lone bright spots on that team, if not the only bright spot, besides maybe a Levante David back then, because this Bucs team will lose a lot of games in crazy ways. And of course, Greg Schiano being a part of that, and Mercer and everything else. But Vincent Jackson was the consistent force. And rest in peace to Vincent Jackson, and prayers to his family, and prayers to Bucs Nation, because I know there's a lot of Bucs fans out there that are hurting right now and are absolutely in shock with him passing away.
Yeah, it's just incredible to see all the pictures. I mean, just on social media of people that, he took time to actually talk to fans, to interact with fans. And, he was one of those people that he was a fan favorite, and you can't help but appreciate what he meant to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, we'll see what happens, what's come out today. Some things that are being reported. I mean, for me, I think there is some connection, just my opinion, some connection to CTE, because we've talked about this before with athletes going off and doing strange things that don't necessarily match his personality. And what you come to find out is that he was in a hotel room for a month. So we knew that there were some problems that he had in his past. Was he able to overcome them? I'm not sure about that. But I think, football is a tough game, and that's why it's so important for the NFL to look after. I get it. They get paid millions of dollars, and that's the reason why, because it is such a physical game. But at the end of the day, the National Football League has to do a better job of looking out for their former players so this type of stuff doesn't happen in the future.
I totally agree with you, and I was just kind of going to that. Scott Brantley is a name that comes to mind. Some Bucs fans may not know who that is. Some of the younger Bucs fans may not know who that is, but if you go out and Google him and just kind of see how he played the game, he was I was a huge fan of his, just when he was playing for the Buccaneers. And it just seems like players get thrown to the wayside after their career is over, and you can't really make the organization any more money. And, they've kind of moved on from them unless you're bringing them back to prop them up for a Pro Bowl or something to that effect. I mean, and I can say this, I do not believe that the NFL has really treated former players as good as they could have been treated. Scott Brantley, I keep going back to that name. I know that he's been having issues over the years, or he was having issues over the years. And it's sad that a guy that, gave it his all and, left it out on the field, doesn't get the common decency or respect. I understand that players need to take care of their money, or, you can't. But at the end of the day, still, the NFL, what you've given to the NFL is more than what the NFL has given to you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think, we should go on to memories. The fondest memory I have is when, Vincent Jackson at the end of the game, and I believe the Bucs don't have a win, but, Mike Glennon goes in there. Vincent Jackson, I think with 8 or 7 seconds left, catches that clinching touchdown versus the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I remember a game versus the New Orleans Saints. Again, lone.
I think he may have froze up. See if I can get him back on here in just a minute. But just to carry on to what Peter is saying, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, a long touchdown to Vincent Jackson against the Saints, where he gets caught from behind from Malcolm Jenkins. But I think those are, my favorite memories, and a consistent force, didn't necessarily have the speed that you would want and a wide receiver, but he was physical enough to get separation. He had some big games for the Bucs, like he said, with the Josh Freeman, with the Mike Glennon, and again, a lone bright spot for this Buccaneer team with lots of losing for so many years.
Yeah. And, I look back at some of these rosters, and probably 2012, I believe, had they had the right coaching staff, 2012 could have been a season that the Buccaneers could have easily gone into the playoffs. It just didn't happen, and the rest is history. But Vincent Jackson was a huge part of that, especially up the middle. I mean, if you go back right now, you go on YouTube and you look at the videos of Vincent Jackson up the middle, he was just carving people up. You'd have thought he was a tight end the way he was, was doing it. And he was money. Yep. He was just money every time he was on the field. And you just, man, it's just so crazy that, he's no longer with us.
Yeah, and then you look at what he's doing for, charities for military, because he grew up in a
Yes.
military family. I mean, to me, that a focus in itself should be more focused on not just his playing career, because he had a phenomenal playing career for the San Diego Chargers, now the LA Chargers for Phillip Rivers, but also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But off the field, all the charities that he did, good guy off the field. So that's why it's a shame, 38 years old. That's why a lot of Bucs fans, when it happened just a couple of days ago, are in shock. They are. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I look at that 2012 season. I keep going back to that 2012 season because when you look at the rest of it, that was a season where they had a pretty decent team. I think Doug Martin ran for like 1,300 yards that year.
Yeah.
And Josh Freeman was on fire. Mike Williams
started out 6-4. Did they not? I mean, there was optimism. There was room for optimism. Another good memory for Jackson was against the New York Giants, even though they lost the game. And of course, everybody's going to look at, what Greg Schiano was asking the team at the end of the game to do. Jackson had an unbelievable game in that year. So there was hope for optimism. There was room for optimism at that point with Jackson and all the free agents the Bucs picked up. But again, it was not to be that year. And then 2013, of course, that was the MRSA season. But 2012, 6-4 to start. And a big part of that was because of Jackson and his consistency. He could always catch everything. His radius, unbelievable radius, how he could catch passes. Such a big guy. And people say, well, why is Mike Evans so good these days? Well, the reason why is Jackson. Jackson was his core. Showed him how to be a true professional coming to this league. That was what people said. I wasn't sure about Mike Evans coming in. You got another Vincent Jackson. That's a good thing, at that point that they drafted a Mike Evans, because he definitely turned out to be, he's on the trajectory to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver with the way he's playing. And a lot of that is because of Jackson and what he did when he came into the league by mentoring Evans.
Yeah, that's the direction I was going with the conversation as well. I mean, when you look at Vincent Jackson, and just look at the Buccaneers, as a whole. I mean, that 2010 season, they had no veterans on that team. And then as years came along, you had Vincent Jackson, you draft Mike Evans, and they work well together. I mean, I look at a lot of the things that me and you talked about this when Mike Evans was drafted. A lot of the issues that people had with him were coachable. These were coachable issues. And these are things that he did clean up after his first year. I know he had some drops his second year, but you could see how he had polished up his game from year one to year two. And I would like to attribute a lot of that to Vincent Jackson and what he really meant to Mike Evans. I mean, you look at the charity work that Mike Evans does in the Tampa Bay community. I mean, it just I really think it just kind of carries over.
It's a direct reflection of that. I mean, and a lot of people say, well, can you put a price on that? Yeah, you could definitely you can't really put a price on it, can you? But at the end of the day, when Jackson got that $55 million and people were looking at that and saying, man, that's a lot of money for a guy like that who, maybe is not the big time name. He deserved every penny of that because of not only what he could bring on the field to, this team and production wise, but also in Evans at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at the wide receivers he had around him, and he was the one that always stood out.
Yeah.
There were guys that had potential, but they couldn't keep their head in the game, and it did not help them. I mean, you had Tequan Underwood was one of them. Mike Williams. Mike Williams was a guy that I was really disappointed in. I really felt like Mike Williams would learn from Vincent Jackson, and it would just be, he would just kind of skyrocket. But his head and his heart wasn't in the game.
Well, it was Mike Williams at first, and then it was Mike Evans after that. And that's the reason why they drafted Evans in the first place, because Williams couldn't get his head on straight. So it works on some wide receivers that wanted to work on. You look at Evans, comes into the league and wants to be one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. And what did he do? He basically humbles himself to Jackson, learns how to be a professional. Now we're talking about Mike Evans in the same breath. of better than a Randy Moss statistics wise. So
yeah, just where he's going. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So, really interesting question out here. Do you think that Vincent Jackson's worthy of the Ring of Honor?
I think I think you have to. People say, well, he wasn't with the Bucs for a long time, but what he did off the field, what he did on the field in his short time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I definitely think he should be in that conversation of Ring of Honor, even more so than a Gerald McCoy. I really do. I know that's going to be controversial, but I feel like Vincent Jackson should be in that conversation of Ring of Honor. How do you feel?
I could see it. I could see it happening, and I think mine is more because of what a bright spot he was during a time where Bucs fans didn't have anything. Those were what I would consider like the lean years. Those were the years where when you turn on a Bucs game, Vincent Jackson is going to make plays. You always knew if he was healthy and he was on the field, Vincent Jackson was going to make plays. And that was the one thing that really you had optimism about. You're like, you want this team to win and you want them to go out and do all this. And you could depend on Vincent Jackson being there and making plays. And to me, that was a motivating factor for, a lot of watching games, because, let's be honest, the defense was a liability for many, many years.
Yes.
And I'll get to that here later on in the show. But early on, the defense, there were no edge rushers. They, couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. You did have Michael Bennett, though, for a little bit. You did have Michael Bennett. So I will say that, 2012, he was there 2012.
Yeah.
Come and think about it. Yeah. Michael Bennett was there. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Aurelius Ben was another guy that they had. Amazement. Just thank you, Amazement 717 mentioned him. These are guys that Vincent Jackson played with, and again he continued to shine. So I could go on and on.
Yeah,
I could go on and on about this, and it's just so much, man.
Shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Remember the good times here. If you have any good times and you can remember it, you have a phone line you want to call in, or just leave the comments here on the text.
Oh, we can get the phone line going here, man. As a matter of fact, let me put that number up there.
And I know I've been off for a while. I took a little break, but that's okay. We'll be back on Friday night on the Evolution Sports Talk Television Live here on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. Again,
I tried to slip that in there, but
the Advanced Auto Parts Sports Web. So there you go. Absolutely. So
all right, yeah. Let me get this number up here, and we'll get some callers in, because I and basically tonight, right now, with the conversation is about Vincent Jackson. What are some of your memories of Vincent Jackson? Just what he meant to you as a team that didn't have a whole lot of bright spots.
Yeah, it's true. And he was a lone bright spot on some bad teams, but he was a consistent factor, consistent player. You look at his numbers, top-notch numbers for a wide receiver in Buccaneer history. So I definitely think.
I think he's number 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so funny just how fast he surpassed Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, I think he was here for 5 years. 5 years, not? Was it 5 years?
Yeah, but I think with the injuries that he had his last 2 seasons, it kind of takes away from what he could have potentially done had he been healthy. I know he had lost a step or two towards the end, but he was still a good possession receiver. He's a guy that you could get the ball to, but Father Time is undefeated.
All right, so I think we probably, if we're not getting any, you can read the comments if you want to on this, but I think a lot of people are really kind of considering right now what's going to happen in free agency. What do you think? A lot of people say
we got a caller. Hold on, we got a caller.
Oh, caller already? All right, let's see what we got here on Buck What You Heard.
All right, you are live on Buck What You Heard. Who we talking with?
Hey, this is Rick Hughes. Rick from
Rick Hughes. Rick Hughes from the Cheap Seats. What's happening, Rick Hughes?
Hey, man. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, how are you doing?
Let me get your fondest memory of Vincent Jackson. Or you got one or two?
Well, my fondest memory, it's funny that it actually goes back to him being on the Chargers. And I was I had drafted him. just on a whim, somebody told me in my fantasy football league, I need a wide receiver. And somebody told me, hey, man, pick up this guy. I know nobody's ever heard of him. Pick him up. And I'm like, who? So I pick him up, and the guy wins the game for me, like, single-handedly. And so, I mean, I always remembered that. And then when he came to the Bucs, it just became a big joke, like, who? But, you know, by that point, he was obviously well-known. But listen, and everything he did, and I come from a military family, so I have just so much respect.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the Ring of Honor. And I think you guys are correct. He should be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But really hard for me to say, yeah, he should be in the ring when you look at somebody like Hardy Nickerson.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't argue that.
And there are some others. And it's hard to say, you know, right now, of course, if you have the conversation right now, it's really hard that, you know, what are you going to say? No. I mean, then you look like a complete jerk. He was phenomenal. He was great. He brought a lot of joy to the Tampa area. Much, 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 much respect for the man.
Yeah.
So much for what he did off the field. So all of those things, I think, are the lasting legacy of this guy.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor. I don't know how to say this. I don't care. You want to put him in there? Put him in there. You don't put him in there? Don't put him in there. I don't care. But I mean, there are. I would. Excuse me. I would sort of compare him production-wise to, let's say, James Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
He was good for a short period of time, you know, and very good for a short period of time. Do you put him in the ring? Do you not put him in the ring? I don't know.
You know, that's the same with Ricky Bell is the same. I'm looking at Ricky Bell the same way as what you're looking at James Wilder.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, having said all of that, like I said, I don't care about the ring right now. What I care about 100% is, you know, what a great guy. And the lessons to learn from the guy as far as the way he did conduct his public life. And, you know, the things he did for people, the compassion he showed for people. Yeah, all the production on the field was phenomenal. I remember going to a Monday night game.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember right, it was Pittsburgh in Tampa. If I'm remembering correctly,
Monday.
You know, I'm old.
I think
I'm old, and I've been watching this team for a long time, so sometimes things run together. But you know, I'm remembering a Monday night game that he was like the only guy on the team that balled out, and you know, I guess, you know, when you look at something like this, that's a tragedy. You just at some point you shrug your shoulders, you say thank you for what you did, thank you for who you were, and that's kind of it, you know, and that's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
Because there's not more to the story. You want there to be more, but it's sad that there's not. And
there was some stuff that was reported today on a radio station, Q105 this morning. You know, alcoholism was in his past. They don't have anything along the lines of, you know, some type of report of how he passed away, but what they're saying, the family is thinking, what they've told this law enforcement officer is that they thought there was some CTE involved, and I definitely think there's a possibility. They haven't got the autopsy back, so we don't know. But again, CTE to me is going to be a relevant thing in this conversation. A guy doesn't leave with, you know, just for a week or for a month and to a hotel room to stay for no reason. There's something going on, and it's sad because we've seen that with former football players.
I feel weird bringing this up. I feel weird kind of bringing this up, but I'll bring this up now. A few months ago, I had a sister pass away from chronic alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
And to know the withdrawal at the end from the family, there's a lot of similarity.
Sure.
And I have no idea what the story is. It doesn't mean. A lot of times people will think, okay, it's like alcohol poisoning, like the person went out on a binge, and that's not kind of the story. I mean, you know what's coming, and that's a hard thing to face. Because I mean, humans, and this is the thing that I guess I've learned over a lifetime is when you look at somebody who struggles with something like this, it's not that they're a bad person. It could be drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It could be Darryl Strawberry. You know, everybody's saying, how in the heck could he not straighten up? Or oh my gosh, who's the wide receiver? Cleveland.
Odell.
He's been given
Josh Gordon.
Chance after chance.
Gordon.
Josh Gordon. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Gordon. You know, I look at that and I think, you know, everybody's like, you know, that guy, he's had every chance. Well, you kind of understand. It's not like he wakes up in the morning and says, I want to do this.
Yeah.
There are factors. There are human factors. And everybody's so judgmental
and that's
of everybody especially God knows with social media.
Rick, real quick, I think you hit the nail on the head. We do want to humanize him as much as possible because this is a real thing. This is a problem. There are people that don't have the notoriety that a Vincent Jackson had that are going through similar situations. And, you know, this could be a learning tool for somebody. This could be a wake-up call for somebody. You never know. I'm like you. I don't like the idea of people being canceled. You know, he's a human being. He had, you know, he was imperfect. And that's kind of how we have to, you know, be able to look past these things and remember the good things about him. And again, this, like you said, you know, this is something that you brought up with your sister. This is experiences that you've gone through. And, you know, my thoughts and prayers go out to you. You know, I had no idea that, you know, that it happened, but it's good to be educated on this as somebody who doesn't have any experience with it. And it helps me to understand it a whole lot better.
Well, yeah, you start to, I guess what it is, you start to realize somebody can have a fatal flaw. And I mean, and that's not just a phrase, that's a literal phrase.
Mm-hmm.
A fatal flaw. It's a flaw in the way that they're wired, a way that they react and feel and respond to things. And then you maybe exacerbate that with hits to the head and different, you know, I mean, it becomes it's just not that simple.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and they're still learning. They're still learning about this.
Right. So it's not, if he has a problem with CTE and he had chronic alcoholism, you're just, it's things piling on top of each other. The human element in all of this. You got a good guy. He showed his heart over and over and over and over again. He showed the character of a man that he is.
Mm.
So I guess at some point, yeah, man, I mean, it's a sad way to, for lack of a better way to put it, it's a sad way to go out. But man, I mean, what a great guy.
Yeah.
That's really what he was.
Yeah.
Was just this great guy who had a flaw.
Yeah.
That was a fatal flaw.
Yeah.
You know, and so remember who the guy was. Remember who the man was, because how he treated people.
Yep.
That
there
when
you
the
go.
lights weren't on.
Yeah.
When the lights were not on.
There you go. That's your
that, you know.
You're spot on, man. Hey, Rick, I'm going to get some other callers on here. Any final thoughts before I let you go, man? I've got to get you on here, by the way.
No, just, you know what? What's that?
I've got to get you on here sometime.
Oh, anytime. But here's the thing. One final thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go Bucs. We're Super Bowl champs. We're Super Bowl champions. We are freaking Super Bowl champions. So it's a happy time.
There you go.
That happened in the middle of a happy time.
This is so true.
I agree.
All right. All right. That is Rick Hughes. And a lot of people are in the chat. They're talking about free agency, and a couple of names that have come up real quick. JJ Watt. I know at the beginning, as soon as the season was over and he was released, that was a name that has been linked to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And another name that I'm not as enamored with is Odell Beckham Jr. Wanting to come to Tampa as well. What are your thoughts? I'm going to start with the latter first. I'm going to start with Odell Beckham Jr. And how would somebody like that fit in to this Buccaneers team, or could he fit in to this Buccaneers team?
Well, first, I wasn't the one that thought Antonio Brown was going to fit into this locker room, but I also said I'd give it a chance, right? And we gave it a chance. And he definitely was productive. So at the end of the day, I think anybody's going to want to fit into this locker room when you have Tom Brady that's running it. Second of all, if you lose a Chris Godwin, could that be consideration? Yes, but what would you have to give up to the Cleveland Browns? How much money would you have to pay for an Odell Beckham? Those are the things you have to think about. And then three, remember, if you re-sign AB, which a lot of people assume they're going to because of the relationship that he has with the Brady, remember this team drafted a Tyler Johnson. So to me, Jeff Darlington is, trying to, basically create something that maybe not, it could not be there. Maybe Odell wants to play with Tom Brady. There's a lot of players that want to play with Tom Brady. It doesn't necessarily mean this Buccaneer organization wants to trade for them. But again, it comes down to if they let Chris Godwin out of the building. And at the end of the day, they can either franchise him or sign him to a long-term deal or let him walk. And even if they let him walk, this team still has the depth. If they re-sign an Antonio Brown, they still have a Tyler Johnson and, of course, a Scotty Miller that they have on this team that can, definitely compensate for the loss of a Chris Godwin, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you're spot on. I know a lot of people felt like Antonio Brown was going to be that locker room cancer, and it turned out he did what he was supposed to do. I feel like a lot of that has a lot to do with Tom Brady and Tom Brady being able to talk to him and get things worked out. They like working together. I don't feel that Odell Beckham Jr. is of the same mindset as Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was on his last leg. Let's be honest. If he had screwed up here, he would probably been toxic. I'm sure it would have been some team may have taken a chance on him. I highly doubt it. But here's a man that came in. He was in the locker room. He was a locker room presence, great route runner. I felt like even Scotty Miller, I looked at some of his routes. I felt like some of his routes got better after Antonio Brown got here. So anything's possible. You look at Mike Evans, who gave up part of his money and made sacrifices to get players. I know there's the talk that maybe Tom Brady, Ali Marpet, I believe, sacrificed as well. And they want to win another Super Bowl. And I think that's where the motivation is right now. I can see a lot of people coming back. The one guy that concerns me, and I know people are not going to agree with this, is Shaq Barrett. And I'm going to go back 10 years to the present, and you look at the defensive line has never even closely, even remotely resembled what you have right now and how these guys all work together. And when Vita Vea was hurt and you brought Vita Vea back and you saw how this team worked together and you saw how Vita Vea set it up for JPP on this side and Shaq on this side, and you just saw a totally different defensive line. You want to try to maintain that as much as possible. Here, that's another guy that, man, you don't want to see him walking out of the building.
Well, you don't, and you're kind of worried about it because of the recent comments that he had that he wants to break the bank. But at the end of the day, all these NFL players they want security. So we really don't know right now what the Bucs and this salary cap is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be higher. We don't know what's going to be lower. All we hear from NFL circles is how it's going to be lower, but we just don't know that yet. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, the caveat of this whole deal is you still have Tom Brady. So you're going to have players that want to play for Tom Brady, and they may take less money. Now, that's not to say that Shaq would take less money, but I think at the end of the day, he would agree instead of probably breaking the bank, which is what he talked about, and going to a lesser team. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been mentioned in it. Yeah. I think he may take a little bit less. That's not to say he's going to take a lot less to play here, but he may take a little bit less. to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, because at the end of the day, it's the best situation for him to win going forward. And once again, you have Tom Brady on your team. You have a chance to win at any given moment.
Yeah, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Well, I mean, look, he goes to, we've seen it before, right? We've seen players go to bad teams. We just talked about Vincent Jackson, a great player who got paid, but at the end of the day, it was a bad team. It was a bad team coming in. It was a bad team going out. So it just depends on, how much you're willing to pay, or a bad team is willing to overpay. Does Shaq deserve it? Absolutely. 19.5 sacks 1 year. He gets paid on the franchise tag. He only had 8 sacks this year, but he was third in PFF focus with getting pressure on the quarterback. So he's definitely a big-time cog on this defensive line. The only way I could see a J.J. Watt, if you will, coming to the Buccaneers is if it were on a lesser deal. And then on top of it, if they lose a Sue or they lose a Barrett, then it becomes a need at that juncture. I know that's where you're going to go, but we really don't know yet where this salary cap is going to go. But I will tell you this, a lot of fans out there were talking about how the sky was falling and how the Bucs would not get anybody signed up. And really all they lost, Gene, was Carl Nassib. That's
Carl
all.
Nassib. Yep.
Everybody else, they got signed up, and then they added players to that so they could be a Super Bowl or a bust team, which, by the way, look, if you don't want to take my word for it, okay, then you're mistaken, because last March I was saying Super Bowl or bust, and this organization has that mindset going into it. They definitely are going for 2. So it's not like they're going to be like the Tampa Bay Rays or other teams out there and start cutting players. Of course, if a bad team is willing to overpay, then at the end of the day, you have to look at other options. But for right now, I have faith in Jason Light and Mike Greenberg that they're going to get these deals done. And also, once again, let me just mention it one more time, probably for the 100th time, the Brady effect.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot discount that. I don't know when this in the season first started, and people that watch the show, I'm not going to sit here and deny it. I was wrong. When we first started the season and the question came up, how much difference can a quarterback make? And you see it right now. There's a Lombardi trophy at $1 right now. Yep. That's just how much difference a Super Bowl can make right there. I know a lot of the players that came in and contributed to this team winning. Shout out to them. I mean, Ryan Suckup, you forgot when Ryan Suckup, what he did this year, you totally forgot that the Bucs ever had kicking issues because of just how steady and consistent he was. Some of the rookies, what Tristan Wirfs came in and did, what Antoine Winfield Jr. came in and did, just the way Jason Light and Bruce Arians and that coaching staff built this team.
Right.
I mean, you can't be anything but happy for them.
And I'll be happy for Shaq Barrett if Shaq Barrett wants to go somewhere else and get a bigger deal. But at the end of the day, I think Shaq wants to be here. I think Shaq wants to be a part of this defensive line, and I think he wants to be a part of this organization simply because of the fact of this, and people don't really look at this. The Bucs were only one of the only teams in the NFL to give him a shot his first year, and what happened? He gave him 19.5 sacks. So I put Jason Light and this organization going forward is going to take care of him, and Shaq will take care of them. And at the end of the day, I think they're going to come to an agreement where more than likely we're just talking about players being lost. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's more, much to do about nothing. The Bucs will take care of their business with the players they feel like going forward that mean a big part of this team. And I think Shaq definitely is a big part of this team going forward. He saw what he did against Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 55. You saw what he did against Aaron Rodgers, where I thought he had 4 sacks, and I thought he should have had 4 sacks all over the field. I mean, that's the type of player he can be with the Vita Vea added to that. And looking at it going forward, Vita Vea, most likely, knock on wood, is going to be healthy.
Yes.
It certainly looks like Ndamukong Suh wants to come back from his comments to Sports Illustrated this week, and he wants to be back with the Bucs. So again, it goes back to what Bruce Arians said in the parade. Let's go for 2. let's run it back. Well, he didn't say run it back. He said that's Kansas City stuff.
Yeah, we'll leave that. Yeah, we'll leave that to those guys that overlook the Bucs.
Exactly.
So for you, right now, I think the most important part of free agency is signing our own. Before we start looking outside, and it's a cautionary tale for me too, because I didn't look at. I saw they brought in Tom Brady. I was like, okay, they got in Tom Brady. I'm on board. Let's see what he does. And that was the extent of where I was. They bring in a kicker. They take care of that. Then you sign all your defensive pieces, which I was probably more excited about them signing the defensive pieces and bringing those guys in, Sue and Barrett, and keeping as much of that defense intact. And then when you consider the young players like Nelson and some of your other, Nacho and some of your other players that are out there that you really don't get that they don't get that notoriety, but they really they hang in there and they make it all work. So what they were able to do, the Buccaneers organization was able to do was keep everything together, keep everything as consistent as possible, and they upgraded on quarterback. And it just shows you, we've seen this. I keep going back to the lean years to now. You didn't have a good general manager. You didn't have good head coaches. You kept recycling head coaches. Nobody was really stable. And it just kind of continued up until they got to Bruce Arians, and you saw what he was able to do with his staff, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to Bucs teams in the past, they weren't guys that are big spenders in free agency. They re-signed their own, and you maybe sign a player or another player or whatever for depth. But you look at this Bucs team last year, they not only re-signed their own, but they brought players in. So fans saying, Godwin's gone, this guy's gone, the end of the world. Hold up, let's see what the salary cap is first. And once we figure out what that salary cap is, then we'll see what Jason Light, Bruce Arians, and Mike Greenberg are going to do. And again, I have faith that they'll be able to get it done. And the majority of the guys that we're talking about right now will be in a Bucs uniform next year.
Yeah, the one thing that really sticks out to me is that we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know if you remember the Jameis Winston when they gave him the extension. Nobody knew that was happening. There was another player. Who was the other player? I think it was a Gerald McCoy. We didn't know that Gerald McCoy was getting the extension he got, and you just don't know what's going on behind closed doors to work these deals. So to me, it's like you said, you kind of have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and get off the ledge. Let's see what they do signing our own teammates here before you really start even looking towards some of these available free agents out there.
Yeah, I mean, Bucs fans, do you guys not have faith in this organization?
You have to.
I mean, honestly, you just won a Super Bowl. Free agency is a month away. I get it. There's some designations that have to be made with franchise and transitions and stuff like that. Things can happen. But do you guys not have faith? Again, call the phone lines if you have something to say.
We got to call it. Hold on. I'm missing this one here.
Go ahead.
Right, you are live on Buck What You Heard. Who we talking with?
Hey, Gene, this is Todd.
Hey, Todd, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Todd?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Great.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Thanks for calling in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, we need to celebrate this Super Bowl, and I kind of jumped to a few conclusions too, but we need to celebrate this. It's been a long time. I think the organization has a lot of work to do, and I think Jason Light and Mike Greenberg will do their best to keep our own players. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Super Bowl champs, baby. And I have a feeling we're going to lose one or two players. But if we keep the majority of our free agents, keep this defense together that won the Super Bowl, it wasn't our offense. I mean, our offense played good, but it was our defense.
Yeah.
And our defense, number one against the run, again, 2 years in a row. That defense is good. They are tough. All the young Bucs, the corners and safeties are coming together. They're young. And of course, our front seven, I don't think there's a better front seven in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's so important. A lot of people are worried about Shaq signing somewhere else. I get that, but you look at the situation. Is he really going to go to a better situation than he has in Tampa Bay? I don't know. I don't know if there's a situation out there. Is he going to get paid more from a bad team? Sure, that's what bad teams do. Bad teams do that in free agency. They overpay for guys. And Shaq, look, he deserves all the money he's going to get in free agency. I just like to see it with the Bucs, and I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll figure this out.
Yeah, I'm personally, I'm playing the wait and see game. I know that I brought it up because, you know, we're talking about it in the chat, but personally, if and I'm going to go on record saying this, I'm real good with just waiting and seeing who gets signed and who doesn't get signed. Then from there, you have your story. You can kind of go with that story and decide, okay, who do the Bucs bring in that would make sense, that could help this team keep winning. But again, like you said, we're still celebrating the Super Bowl, and we're getting around to free agency, and let's just see what happens and make sure that the players that like Lavonte David, I do not want to see him even venture out into free agency.
Sure.
Here's another guy I would love to see back in a Bucs uniform or retire a Buc. So just guys like that, the core of this team are the guys that you kind of have to look at them. And then you can build around some of the pieces you lose.
And I think you also have to focus on the story from our own Joshua Cole Allen, who mentioned it, that they're looking into not only an extension, but also, redoing the contract for Tom Brady. That's going to free up money. You look at Mike Evans. He's done it before. What other players would step up and redo?
Ali Marpet did it, didn't he?
Right. So those players are willing to do it. I feel like that could happen, and the Bucs have a plan going forward. We don't know what that is, and we'll definitely keep you abreast of that situation on the sports web on Buck What You Heard here on Bucs Report when it happens. But what are the two players or a couple players you think they may lose here, Todd, in your opinion?
Well, I keep hearing Barrett because Barrett has said he wants to break the bank.
Sure.
If Barrett wants to stay, this is the situation with Barrett. Mm-hmm. If Barrett wants to stay and get another ring, then he needs to bring down the bank a little bit and help us out, help the organization out. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll pay him well. And then you've got to keep Lavonte. We cannot let Lavonte David go anywhere. He's a Buck for life.
Yeah.
He's a great player, class act. We need to keep Lavonte.
Let me ask you this about
is there a better receiver, free agent receiver out there than Chris Godwin? No. Somebody tell me, and I'll argue it.
Hey, so we're talking about Lavonte David. Is he somebody would you put him in your ring of honor?
Absolutely. What the guy has done for us for 9-10 years, look what he's done. Absolutely. He's never played in a playoff game till this year. He's never gotten the recognition that he deserves till this year. We're on national TV 5 times. We're in the playoffs. We go to the Super Bowl. If nobody else on that team deserved it more, it's Lavonte David.
Yeah.
Mike Evans. The guys that have been here through blood, sweat, and tears,
yes,
and have not ever played in a playoff game. I mean, Mike Evans, Lavonte David, and then you got, Devin White, the rookies, Tristan Wirtz and Winfield. I mean, the rookies played outstanding. Suckup, Stimmy came in for Kappa and played,
and we can't forget about him.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's going to be an interesting matchup, Stinny and Kappa.
Mm.
Yes, Stimmy did I thought Stimmy did a great job. And there's a stat that I saw the other day, Gene and Peter, on Tristan Wirtz, and you can confirm this with me. He only gave up 1 sack all year long.
Yeah, yes, that's very true. And Jason Light, by the way, is a terrible general manager because he doesn't know what talent is, although he did get a Tristan Wirfs and an Antoine Winfield and a Devin White and a Shaq Barrett when other teams weren't looking at him and traded for JPP. You're exactly right. Tristan Wirfs was worth every draft pick, and they only had to trade up one spot for Wirfs from Iowa, and he'll give up one sack as a rookie on that right side. He was a big part of why that offensive line cut down on a lot of the sacks. We were going into it. That was one of the big points here, Gene, was that they had to cut down on those sacks. Not only Tom Brady could get rid of the ball quicker, but because this offense with the long routes and stuff like that, that if he was going to go Brady 5 to 7 step drop, that this offensive line would have to do a good job in keeping him protected. And they absolutely did that. And a big part of that was Wirfs on that right side.
Absolutely. And you see the people that he went up against. I mean, it wasn't like he went up against scrubs. He went up against very quality defensive players, and he played his ass off.
He did. He did. And you know what? Kudos to the offensive line. What a job they did all year long. After the Bears game, they came together and they played outstanding and kept Brady pretty clean most of the rest of the year. And you know, that's the key when you have Tom Brady. You've got to keep him upright. If you keep him upright, you're always going to have a chance at any game that you play. And, you know, and if we do lose some of these free agents, like you say, the Brady effect, I know Peter echoed that a while ago, the Brady effect will bring some other free agents here. People want to play for Tom Brady. They know what Tom Brady's all about. And it's not just about Tom Brady. We got a great offensive team. We got a great defensive team. The offense wins games. Defense wins championships. And how true is that?
That is very true.
Absolutely true. Ask Patrick Mahomes and ask all those quarterbacks that this defense had to face in a Drew Brees and an Aaron Rodgers and, of course, Mahomes. They met their Waterloo in the postseason. It was because of that defense getting the pressure and causing those turnovers. Good stuff, Todd.
Hey, thanks a lot, Todd. Any final thoughts before I let you go?
Y'all. What's that, sir?
Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Let's go for 2.
All right, there you go. I cannot argue that. You know, as Grandma always said, the only thing better than 1 steak dinner is 2 steak dinners.
That's right. That's right. God bless you guys. Y'all done a great job. Thanks.
All right.
Have a great night.
Thanks a lot, Todd. Appreciate it. Good stuff, man. Good caller here at Live on Bucs Report. So, a lot of people talking about it. I mean, again, free agency hasn't started yet. I get it. There's some anxiety there because I
think it's PTSD, man. Because I've still got my Super Bowl gear on. You know, I try to wear it as much as I can, and I'm going to appreciate this till the wheels fall off, man. I'm not lying. I mean, this is something we didn't expect this, and this was a great surprise to nobody. Well, I'm sure you did. Well, I know you did. You were part of that committee, Super Bowl or bust.
Yes, and I'm not afraid to say that because of what this team coming together, the defense coming together, namely a Shaq Barrett last year with this defense and how they played in that second half of the year, and listening to Bruce Arians in that press conference, in his exit press conference. No matter what quarterback we get, if we have that defense playing the way they are, we can win with any quarterback. Well, there you go.
Ooh, yeah. Tom, and again, Tom Brady, I feel like he's a good decision maker. I thought outside of that, the second half of that Green Bay game, I thought that, he's been solid. He's done what he's needed to do. I think he's had the least amount of interceptions in a Bruce Arians offense, I think, or something like that.
That's true.
He's the exception. He's like the exception to the rules.
And they had the biggest turnaround since 1991. I mean, if you don't turn over the ball, you take care of the ball, you play good defense, and you score enough points, and you outscore the other team, it's amazing. You can win some games. Amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
I want to put you through the table if you keep on talking about steak dinners. I got to go out and get some steak dinners.
Well, yeah, it is time to eat, man. I'm getting hungry myself.
I had a ham and cheese sandwich before I came on. So
there you go. So you're all set, man. So for you, what was the experience like? What was the Super Bowl experience like for you? I have not really gotten to talk to you since all this has died down now, and this is the perfect time. I mean, this season, Bucs Report, everything Bucs Report is doing, the sports web, getting to listen to some of these press conferences at the Super Bowl. What has the whole Super Bowl experience been for you?
Amazing. I mean, I think it went a little bit too fast, to tell you the truth, because it seemed like 1 minute they were in the NFC Championship game, and the next minute they were playing at the Super Bowl. But of course, we were live at the Deck Bar and Grill. We were doing our pre-show. We were doing a halftime show. But just trying to watch the game and the excitement and the level of just noise there, and trying to concentrate on the game and what to talk about, and trying, we covered on Bucs Report. We're not trying to be fans here. We're trying to cover it unbiasedly, but being involved in it, it's like you can't help it because you haven't seen this in 18 years. So to see this type of defensive effort, to see Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski hook up on that first touchdown, you just believe that everything was going to work out correctly and that the Bucs had a plan. So the whole moment in itself, going down there downtown, to see the energy, to see so many people on Facebook that weren't Bucs fans years ago that are coming on to the dark side, if you will, and being a Bucs fan. And I don't have a problem with that, Bucs fans, and you shouldn't have.
We've got the coolest uniforms anyway.
Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Hopefully it continues on. Hopefully those people continue to be Bucs fans. If not, no loss at the end of the day. I think it was an extraordinary experience, and honestly didn't really get a chance to sit down and probably watch the game with nobody around, because that's what I kind of wanted to do, to kind of enjoy, because I was watching it and then you're writing down notes, and the next thing you know, you're going on air to try to cover it. So it was definitely fun and entertaining, and also a little stressful at the same time. So that's kind of why the big boss from Bucs Report said, you know what, you take off a week here, kind of collect yourself, recharge those batteries, and get ready to go. So I'm here tonight. I'm ready to go. The whole experience was unbelievable, and I can't wait for free agency and the draft to take place here in less than a month. I can't wait.
Yeah, you know what? I'm like, the last caller, Todd, was on here. I feel kind of the same way. I'm enjoying the being a Super Bowl champion, wearing a Super Bowl jersey and, Super Bowl hat or whatever. You go out and, this is something that, like you said, we haven't experienced this. And for a lot of fans, it's a little bit different than the last time, because Tampa started getting good. They started getting good year after year. And you looked at this team, you're like, oh, this is a team you got to keep your eye on right here. They're going to continue to be good. And then going to the playoffs, and the fan base was different then, because you kind of build up to them going to the Super Bowl. Whereas here, it was like, you lose to the Atlanta Falcons at the end of the year on a pick six, and then the next year you're going to the Super Bowl. And that's kind of what it was like for the fan base, if you want to kind of look at it, in that manner.
I mean, yeah, that's how you look at it. I mean, from year to year, from 2019 to 20, we were talking about interceptions and this and that. And then next thing you know, we're talking about Tom Brady coming to the Bucs, and Rob Gronkowski and Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown, and all this excitement and all these expectations, and fans getting that Bucs traumatic stress disorder of saying, oh no, something's going to happen bad. And I said, just relax, just let it play out. Just let it go. You got Tom Brady here. You got a great coaching staff. They know what they're doing. You have to have faith. And I think with this Super Bowl win, it's, installed that faith again to Bucs fans. Now they're looking forward to it. Instead of talking about, do you know where we draft this year? You know where the Bucs draft this year? 32nd.
32nd.
Have any idea who they're going to draft?
You know what? I think only the general manager knows that. And the one thing that I will,
right? I mean, that's it. We're not talking about that anymore. We're not talking about picking 5th or 10th overall. We're talking about a team picking 32nd and the best player available. There's not ultimate needs unless you miss out on some free agents. And even then, you have faith in Jason Light. You have faith Bruce Arians and the Todd Bowles and all these veteran players like a Tom Brady and a Gronkowski, and of course a Mike Evans and a Shaq Barrett and a JPP and a Devin White and Levante David. The talent is here. It's all over the place. And instead of being an afterthought and talking about, well, who can we overpay to get here to play? Players are going to take less money because they want to be a part of this organization. They want to be a part of this community, and they want to be a part of a feeling of an organization that has stepped up and has become elite overnight.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people have to kind of rethink what they were saying about the ownership here.
Yeah.
I think it was just not the right time. I mean, you've got an idiot general manager, and then, you know, you bring in some coaches that, you know, probably number one, Raheem Morris it was too soon for him to be a head coach. When you look back at his body of work, Greg Schiano should never coach in a pro football team, period. Let's kind of stick to college. And we saw that when he was at Rutgers. And then you kind of get into Lovie Smith, where you had the nostalgia, and that didn't work out. But they finally hit on your general manager, got enough pieces to make Tampa attractive enough for a coach who was in retirement to come out of retirement and put his staff together. And then your team is attractive enough to bring in the greatest of all time to come in and become the quarterback for the Buccaneers. So it was a process, a long way to get to the process, but it was a process.
And I think the process was great because we were a part of it with Bucs Report. Not only you, but, you know, the Tampa Bay Sports Bay, BAE. You had her on here. She's your co-host on Friday nights. We had Rick Hughes being a part of it. Harry, the Greek, my professional handicapper, Tampa Bay Ray, callers like a Johnny Dean, and, of course, Todd. And those guys, Matt Colson, guys like that, the dude, they make it enjoyable. They make it that much more enjoyable and that much more memorable, because at the beginning of the year, it was totally different from the end of the year. We didn't even know if we were going to have a football season. We didn't even know what the Bucs were going to do. We heard the national pundits talk about it. So there was so much adversity, much talk of negativity and pessimism. And then,
have you seen the Tom Brady video?
I did. I love it. I love it. And the guy is just timeless. I mean, he really he is the ultimate troll. He is the ultimate competitor, but at the end of the day, he has receipts for what everybody was talking about, including a Max Kellerman and Wrong and all those guys that were saying there's no way the Bucs are going to make the playoffs. There's no way that Tom Brady is going to be successful. There's no way that Gronk is going to be successful. There's no way that Antonio Brown is going to be successful. And through some way, and the way is just to believe in yourself and believe in your effort and believe in your team. They got through it, and they became the number one team in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, this team, I have never seen an offense this mistake-free. I mean, we saw mistakes, we saw some fumbles, but when you look at this team from the start of the season till the Super Bowl, I have not seen a Buccaneers team play this clean. I just haven't.
Well, especially the postseason. I mean, they saved their best game for the last part of it, right? I mean, the Washington game, there was some question. They gave up some points to, you know, a quarterback that didn't necessarily have a lot on, but they didn't really turn over the ball. You know, besides the Green Bay game with the 3 interceptions, they took care of the ball. They did everything of what we always talk about with postseason football. You run the ball, they did that. Check. Now, instead of playoff Lenny, it's Lombardi Lenny.
There you go.
That to me is a guy that you could lose. But the reason why you could lose a Leonard Fournette is simply because he wants to cash in on a big payday.
Right.
He may not necessarily want to be a backup running back here. He may not think his starting opportunities are going to be great. So he wants to, you know, get that big time payday because the Bucs drafted a Keyshawn Vaughn in the 3rd round. So that's who you can replace him with. A lot of people look at Godwin, the same thing. You know, the Bucs may not franchise him. They may franchise him. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. Is it disappointing you're going to miss out on a Chris Godwin? Hell yes, it's disappointing because he's number 1 wide receiver in this league. He's not a number 2, but the Bucs have the luxury of having him a part of this team.
Yeah.
After the Tyler Johnson, you have a Scotty Miller. Most likely you're going to have an Antonio Brown. That's why all the talk of OBJ. So the Bucs have a plan going forward. You've got to love it. And it all came together, whether it was a playoff Lenny or Lombardi Lenny or a victim of volume and a Ronald Jones or Gronkowski or Cameron Braid, who fans continue to talk about how he's going to be cut and traded every year, and he's always on the roster.
Is he our new Lazarus man?
I mean,
I remember it was Adam Humphries for the longest. So is Cameron Braid our new Lazarus man?
I think people look at him and they say, well, $6 million, he's not that productive. You got O.J. Howard. The problem with Howard is, as talented as he is on the field, he's not able to stay on the field.
That's right. What is it? The greatest ability is availability.
Availability. I mean, and you look at O.J. Howard before the injury, he's dominant. And you kind of, you kind of picture him being healthy with, of course, a Rob Gronkowski, who, by the way, we heard from all the pundits, he was not able to stay healthy for a full year. He was able to stay healthy this year. You look at the impact, not only as a pass catching tight end, but also as an inline blocker. So you kind of
just incredible technique,
right,
when throwing those blocks.
Right. So you kind of imagine an O.J. Howard playing in this offense next year. The problem with O.J. is, can he stay healthy? Is he tremendous? Is he athletically gifted? Does he have the potential? Absolutely. He definitely can win some games for you, but the problem is he can't stay healthy. So I'm not ready to say that Cameron Brate is gone. Could he be a casualty because he's making $6 million? Absolutely. He's making lots of money right now.
I'm going to say this. Tom Brady found him to be more of an option in the playoffs than what we saw in the regular season. I think that Tom Brady finally figured out what a lot of fans and, players already knew, is just how valuable Cam Brate can be in the clutch of a game. So I don't know. I would be really disappointed to see him go. Again, just when you look at all the talent there, I would, and maybe I'll get crucified for this, but O.J. Howard just cannot stay healthy. You want somebody that's going to be on the field, that's going to contribute and help your team win. I mean, as much as I love O.J. Howard, how many games after that first game did he help this Buccaneers team win? Not any, because he could not stay healthy. So if something happened where they moved on from him, I think he's a piece that you can build. You can bring somebody in, but I don't consider him as part of the core of that offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got potential, but you're exactly right. I mean, they've got plenty of tight ends on this team. It's not just O.J. Howard. It's also Cameron Brate. It's Tanner Hudson. I mean, they have some decisions to make here. And we definitely, you'll break that down here on Bucs Report. Check out the newest article from the old salty Buck himself, Mr. Jeremy Morrow, who had a great breakdown of it. We go through that breakdown. But honestly, at the end of the day, we don't even know what the cap is going to be like. It may be higher than we think, it may be lower. So I'm not a capologist. I'm definitely not good with my money. So I'm not the person to ask for financial advice on paying players, because at the end of the day, I would spend all the money I had because I want this team to stay competitive and win another Super Bowl.
Right.
No matter what. No matter what. At the end of the day, I want them. And I feel like this organization, and of course, the Glazers have shown that they also are on board with whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl this year.
So I have to ask you this question, because I've asked pretty much everybody that's come on. When you look at what the New Orleans Saints have done, going to the playoffs as many times as they've gone, and they only have one Super Bowl to show for it. With the team, this alleged super team that they always have, they're always able to bend the cap to get some of these free agent nuggets that are out there and bring them in. And when you look at this team, would you rather have a football team that goes to the playoffs every year, or when you look at what the Bucs have done, going all this long period of time and not winning, and then coming in and winning a Super Bowl? What way looks more attractive to you?
I think going and winning a Super Bowl, because at the end of the day, what does it mean? You won all those division titles, but what do you have to show for it? You're basically the Atlanta Braves of the NFL. I mean,
or the Atlanta Falcons.
I mean, but seriously, I mean, you won all the division titles at the end of the day, but when it came down to it, you got one World Series, where you got one World Championship with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and supposedly this super team and the super coach, you've only won one championship, and that's it. The Saints fans can sit back there and say they won NFC South championships for days, but at the end of the day, have they won a Super Bowl? Tom Brady and the Bucs did. So, and they went all in. So to answer your question, at the end of the day, I'm all about going in. That's what I like. I like going all in. You know, laugh now, cry later. Okay, there may be some crying days, and Bucs fans know about that after the Brady era. But I'm not ready to turn the page yet. Tom Brady's not ready to turn the page yet. He may play well after he's 45 years old if he can keep him healthy, and of course, if he feels like he's contributing to the team, which means he's being an elite quarterback, which I think he was this year, was he not? Over 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the low turnover, the low interception rate that he had in this Bruce Arians offense, that speaks volumes, because how many times have we seen quarterbacks come in with a high number of turnovers and these slowly developing plays, and Tom Brady was able to come in and you can say what you want to about him. The guy came in and played at a high level. And, he needs to be respected for that. I think the whole team needs to be respected. The fact they only had one Pro Bowler. I know, and I know it's not a big deal because the Super Bowl is greater than the Pro Bowl, but just the level of disrespect was just like, wow, come on. You serious?
Well, I mean, it's a national narrative. I mean, honestly, I mean, and it definitely had to be a driving force. You heard Tom Brady's comments to Devin White. Hey, look, that's not the bowl you should be concerned about. It's the Super Bowl. So I think that was a driving force. And there should have been an investigation on why there wasn't more Pro Bowlers. But at the end of the day, all these teams can keep their Pro Bowlers. The Bucs, I think they'll be happy with that Super Bowl. So I think more and more the national media is going to kind of pay attention to a Levante David, to a Devin White, which is unbelievable that he wasn't in the Pro Bowl with 140 tackles, 9.5 sacks. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, what can you do?
Well,
hey, buddy, we're getting towards the back end of the show, and with I do this with every call, everybody that comes on. I have 10 questions, 60 seconds. They're basically buy, sell, real easy. There's no wrong answer to these questions, and they're real simple. So, so you've seen it. So you have seen it. Okay, so you're aware.
Okay.
All right. So I've got these 10 questions for you, and let me know when you're ready. What I'll do is I'll ask the first question and then start the clock, and we'll kind of go from there. So you ready?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Who do you resign, Shaq or Levante? You can only have one choice.
Shaq.
Who is your Bucs season MVP not named Tom Brady?
Devin White.
The Bucs will open the Thursday night primetime game in creamsicle uniforms. Buy or sell?
Sell.
From 2009 to 2019, who would you put in the Ring of Honor first?
Levante David.
Todd Bowles will be a next head coach of the Buccaneers. Buy or sell?
Sell.
The Buccaneers defense will be number 1 overall in the league in 2021.
Buy.
The Buccaneers at Patriots game next season will be a Monday night game. Buy or sell?
Buy.
Keyshawn Johnson or Vincent Jackson? Who you got?
Jackson all day.
The Buccaneers go undefeated this season. Buy or sell?
Sell.
Rich McKay or Jason Light? Who you got? Dang, man, you were right there. Oh, my God. You almost won this.
That's tough. That's tough for me because that's a tough question because I look at McKay being the architect and Jason Light like a tie for me. So,
you know what? And look at it this way. I mean, you went from Sam Weiss to Tony Dungy to John Gruden to a Super Bowl. Yeah. And you go from Dirk Cutter or from Lovie Smith, Dirk Cutter to Bruce Arians to a Super Bowl. And just the way they all got there. I mean, I would have to say Jason Light only because if you look at that 2016 season, there's only one player that left, and for him to still put together a team that can go to the Super Bowl and win one says a lot about him and the people that he's brought in.
Yeah, I would say definitely Light, but McKay, boy, oh boy, what he did with this team to get him out of the doldrums with the hiring of a Tony Dungy. I get it, Light hired a Bruce Arians, but it's not like they didn't have talent here. They had talent here with Jason Light. I just had to put it together. Rich McKay had basically nothing. You hire a Tony Dungy. He's your third choice after Steve Spurrier and Jimmy Johnson both leave you at the altar. And then it takes a couple years, and you turn this team around. It takes about 2 years, did it not?
Yeah.
2 years for this team to turn it around. So Rich McKay was just as responsible as a Tony Dungy and a Monty Kiffin with making those moves and not necessarily going out into free agency and getting players right away. They drafted correctly, and when it was right, they made the trade for Keyshawn Johnson. I would have taken Jackson all day long. I think he was a better wide receiver, in my opinion. Keyshawn did win a championship, but Jackson, much more explosive, made some plays in his career over Keyshawn Johnson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought they were going to pick up Plaxico Burress in the draft personally, but it all went south after all that. But anyway, for me, and that's why I wanted to get your opinion on this. When I look at what Jason Light has done, basically the cupboard was bare when he came in as well. I mean, when you look at, well, I won't say bare. He had Levante David and I'm trying to think who else. Mason Foster. I think Mason Foster was still there. He's still playing at a decent level. But you know, when you got that team and he came in and just built everything up. When Rich McKay left, they were in salary cap hell. And they were like digging their way out of it. Whereas Jason Light has put you in a position, the worst position to have, which is getting the 32nd pick, and you still have decent cap room. They'll have enough cap room to sign all their rookies. I just don't see, you know, for me, just being able to do that and still make this team competitive and still being able to bring in players in, and because that's where you want your foundation built is through the draft, and to still be able to come in and bring in players and just what he's done so far. You know, and you can all stop talking about the, you know, drafting a kicker. I think he's more than made up for that. He's more than made up for the 2016 draft, personally.
Yeah, and to me, you know, with Rich McKay, you were in salary cap hell, but keep in mind you re-signed all the players, and then on top of it, the year that you went to the Super Bowl, you signed a Keaton McCardell, you signed a Joe Jaravicius and a Roman Oben and a Kerry Jenkins. There were key free agents.
Ricky Dudley.
Ricky Dudley, exactly. So once again, you went all in and you paid for it. And then on top of it, this organization gave up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. So, and then, of course, you had the Gruden stuff with McKay, so that didn't necessarily work out. But McKay's body of work speaks for itself. He was definitely a true architect. And I feel like if he's not in the Ring of Honor, there should be an investigation because a lot of what the Bucs did should be attributed to McKay. But
100%.
With all that being said, boy, it's a tough decision. You got to take Jason Light with everything that's been going on this year and all the moves he made, and then all the people and the doubters saying that he wasn't a good general manager. The last couple of drafts, you look at it, you know, a Devin White, a Sean Murphy Bunting, Juan Winfield, a Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, just building that back. Avita Vea, with everybody saying Derwin James should be the pick. Great job. He has.
And again, you know, on that note, shout out to Michael Pless out there in the chat. We were ecstatic, you know, getting Vita Vea in here because, you know, games are won and lost in the trenches. And I think with the exception of the Kansas City Chiefs last year, the majority of the Super Bowls, I would say over the last 8 years, have been won in the battle in the trenches. And what Tampa was able to do is be dominant on both sides of the ball. We have not gotten a chance to say that for a long time. But, you know, here we are. Hey, I think we have the dude on here.
Let's go out to the dude.
I don't know have we lost you? Dude, have we lost you, buddy?
No, sir. I'm still here in the ether.
So what's happening?
Hey, I want to do a shout out. You guys are talking about Ring of Honor. We got an article dropping on BucsReport.com here this evening that is going to make a case for Jason Pierre-Paul to be the first non-drafted Buccaneer to be put in the Ring of Honor. That said, hey, did I hear a Ricky Dudley reference?
You sure did.
Yes.
Man, let me tell you, man, that brings back memories. Speaking of memories, what's today, the 17th?
Yes, it is.
It is the 17th. February.
What day was the Super Bowl again?
The
7th?
It feels like yesterday. Was it yesterday?
It was a 7th.
We're on like 2.5 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's been 10 days, I think, right?
Yeah, you're right.
2.5 weeks, and Yeah, 2.5 weeks, and the Chiefs still have yet to score a touchdown. Hey, Tyreek Hill. As the Count from Sesame Street would say, two. But guys, I just wanted to shout out, man, jump on real quick and say great show. Peter Blake, good to see you back behind the mic.
Right where he belongs.
Gene, the dancing machine.
I'm gonna have to throw a flag on that one right there. I'm gonna have to throw a flag on that one.
Why can't you be the dancing machine? You know what? You need to be the
2 left feet. No, it's not happening.
You need to be the dancing jabroni, because when I put your ass to the table.
I'm not allowed to bring Gong Show references in here.
No, I'm gonna have to throw. That's a personal foul right there.
Oh man, look at him and his. I know what you could do with that flag.
Gene, I know. And this will be an inside joke. So Gene, don't hang up on me.
Here we go.
I know, because of copyright reasons, that is the only reason you didn't play "Stairway to Heaven" to start the show.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can't. I have hype music, and I kind of stick to my music because I'm kind of at war with YouTube, really, because they're always, they tried to actually flag my song. So
that's funny when people claim stuff's theirs and it's not, and that's all we'll say about that.
Yeah, we'll just be
but great show as always. Hey, Buck What You Heard is here every Wednesday and Friday at 7 p.m. live on Bucs Report. Check out the Buck What You Heard YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, because if you don't, you're an idiot. And then we'll just have to keep reminding you when he's live. So just do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. Shout out to Liam Mitchell, Bucs Archive. Great highlight videos. If you haven't checked it out, go to that YouTube channel. He's got at least 4 or 5 season highlight videos up for individual players. But that said, tonight at 9 o'clock, we have the debut of the one and only, the over-under with Harry the Greek. Now, keep in mind, Harry is popping a cherry, and we're all going to be here to watch it. So tune into that. But before I go, I got to give out a lot of love to Gene, a lot of love to Peter, and everybody else at Bucs Report. Joshua Cole back there in the background doing his thing. Philip Schwegler missing in action. Mr. AWOL.
We'll find him.
Wyatt, Philip.
I will make sure to get the hounds out and look for him.
Yeah, I mean, him and Joshua Cole Allen also made the experience of the Super Bowl worthwhile. That's for sure.
Absolutely. But realize we're in the middle of February, and the Buccaneers are world champions, and your team is not.
Exactly.
And that's all there is to this.
Yeah,
So,
I should be wearing a Victory Monday shirt every Monday, so until the season starts again or something. Who knows?
We need like a victory off season.
Exactly.
Shout out to Smack Apparel for all that you do, everything that you have done and continue to do. Great job. We appreciate that. Gene loves you. We all love you. Just wanted to jump on and say great job as always, guys. Tell the people in the comment section, keep commenting. Don't be scared. Either call in or interact. Do something, man. But show these guys some love, because they're out here busting their you-know-what to keep you guys informed and to keep you guys with an outlet in which to talk about your favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That said, Buck What You Heard, Gene, Peter Blake, the Sports Web. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. The dude is now going to go pour himself a beverage and probably go yell at people to get off of his yard.
There you go, man. Have fun.
Nice.
All right.
The dude always abides.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, man, I can't believe it's gone by that fast, a whole hour. So when are you back on again?
Friday night, probably at 9 o'clock. We're going to start it up. We will start talking about free agency. We'll get everybody's comments and their questions and their fears and their, I don't know, whatever we have to do. Talk about the Super Bowl championship, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 9 o'clock live on the Evolution Sports Talk Television here on Bucs Report, the advanced auto parts sports web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And how do we do this to start off the sports web on Friday night? How do we do it all the time? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense.
All right. I couldn't have said it any better. Be sure to check us out next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I will have Trevor Sikkema from Draft Network on. We'll be talking a little bit of off-season stuff. But for now, enjoy the Super Bowl win. The Bucs are Super Bowl champions. And just get your mouth fixed to say that throughout the offseason. Enjoy it. Be sure to remind your friends that are Saints fans or Chiefs fans or whoever, hey, right here, Super Bowl 55, that belongs to us. But anyway, we are out of here. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. And we're out.